responsible consumption of alcohol. Now, I have my RSA, the responsible service of alcohol, which kind of makes me a walking, talking contradiction. Now, I have a different belief on drinking ages and drinking laws and so on and so forth. Now, when I moved down to my father's, I remember I moved down when I was about 13. At about 14, I went to my doctor, or my dad's doctor, and said, mate, I can't sleep at night, I'm a total insomniac. And he said, well, and I said, could I get some sleeping tablets off you? And he said, look, I've seen what damage is done to your father, and basically the sleeping tablets by the time 20 won't work. So he said, go ask your dad to buy you a case of beer or a bottle of scotch and have one a night. It worked. One knocked me out. After a while I got used to that. Then I needed 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on it went. At 14 to 15, me and my mate used to pull up at the local drive-through on our push bikes, on our BMXs, and say, can we get a little hip flask of scotch, mate? And he'd look at us and say, you over 18? And we're like, yeah, of course we are, hey. And they'd still serve us. Have 5 drinks out of a hip flask of scotch, and mate, you'd slap your face, totally numb, you were just like, yeah. But then, on and on it went. Sometimes a bottle, sometimes 2, still sober. At one point, I said to a guy that we do work for, and he does random drug and alcohol testing, and I said, can you work this out? I said, what's 8 beers and 2 bottles of wine? Mind you, I have calmed down a lot. I don't drink anywhere near as much as I did then. But I said to him, how much is 8 beers, 2 bottles of wine? He said, I'll have to get my laptop. Got out his laptop, calculated it out, and said, my God, that's 0.4, you'd be clinically dead. When did you do that? I said, 4 nights a week. He couldn't believe it. Because what you're taught to believe is that 1 drink will knock you out. But there are a lot of people out there that can handle alcohol and even drugs. I'll go into drugs later. Now, I personally don't do drugs since I was 19 years old. Very rare that you'll even see me take Panadol or any other prescribed drugs. Very, very rare. I'd have to be almost dead before I took any antibacterial or other drugs. I'll go into it a little more later on. Now, when it comes to the responsible consumption of alcohol, I, at one point, about a year ago, got done DUI morning after on the way to work. I blew over .067. Now, I then went to my local club and said, look, is there any way I can get a reference off you? And the licensee and the club manager wrote me out a fantastic reference stating that there are rules and regulations that I have to comply to when drinking in the club, and that my behaviour could only be explained as exemplary. Everyone looked at me and said, how much did that cost you? Just my local club, the guy was a nice guy, he knew I wasn't there to cause trouble, yet I can drink like a fish. Started drinking in a hotel, and the very first day I walked in there, because my car had broken down, I walked in, got to know the bar manager, and at the end of her shift, she said, look, I'm going for a drink across the road after I close up here, would you like to join me? I said, yeah, that'd be great. Walked across the road, from then on started drinking with her. We drank together for about 18 months. And at one point, one of the boys from another pub says to me, we're talking about how much you can drink. And he says, oh, if I have 7, I'm pretty pissed. If I have 9, I'm wasted and I do some stupid things and they tell me later. I said, oh, look, my record's 17. And she just looked at me and said, like hell it is. She said, one night in my pub, you had 18 beers, then you and I went out for drinks afterwards and you had another 6-pack. I looked at the guy and said, sorry mate, my record's 24 beers. Held down a job for all of my life. I bugged a guy so much. When I was 13 years old, I bugged him and bugged him and bugged him, and he finally gave in and gave me a paper run. By the time I left, there was 8 boys working paper runs. I haven't been on the dole between 16 and 19. I had 17 jobs. Been in the same career for 21 years. Currently working for a guy at the moment, and basically I've had about 3 or 4 days off in the last 4 years due to sickness. So I can drink like a fish, yet I'm not irresponsible. I don't lose my cool. I don't get drunk. I don't get rowdy. Which is why when security has ever hassled me, I can stand there calmly in front of them, say I'm not intoxicated. I have my responsible service of alcohol, and you cannot deem me intoxicated. They don't like that. But then when you ask them for their security number, if they refuse to give it to you, make a formal complaint to the licensee, because they must always display the security. If you feel threatened at any time by a bouncer, then just say, I want to see your security, I want footage of this right now, and I would like to be escorted off the premises by the manager of the hotel or the licensee. A bouncer can't bounce you. A bouncer has no right to deem you intoxicated. The only person that can deem you intoxicated is the person that served you the alcohol. So, this is a little tip. I would recommend this for anyone and everyone. Even kids, before they even start drinking, I think you can get your RSA at 16 or 17, even before you enter licensed hotel or licensed premises, and know your rights as a drinker on those premises. And you have the right to drink. You do not have the right to be an idiot. You do not have the right to be a moron. You do not have the right to be smashed, pissed, or intoxicated. But you do have the right to be able to go in, have a drink, relax, and be protected on licensed premises by the security provided by the club, the hotel, the pub, or the venue that you're at. So go get your RSA, because it will teach you and explain to you that you do have a right to be responsible, you do have a right to have a good time, and you do have a right to be treated with decency and respect. Okay, bisexual. Now we may go on to a little bit about drugs.